So you already know what autism is, and as future educators, I can guarantee that you will have some students with learning disabilities, also autism. And let me get to the core of my message. You already told me you know what autism is and what are the symptoms of autism. Can anyone give me the basic symptoms of autism?
They can't be still, they're moving.
Yes, yes, that's called stimming as well, or hyperactivity. Anyone else with the children that you worked with, or any individuals that you know on the spectrum? Yes? No eye contact, very good.
This is from my perspective, uncomfortable with physical contact. I have trouble, accepting hugs and such, even
Right.
with my sisters or friends.
Yes, physical contact can be painful, eye contact can be painful. Autism prevalence has increased 317%, 317% since 2000. I mean, that's scary. That's scary. And we saw the biggest peak starting from around 2000, year 2000. Before, in 1970, autism was 1 to 10,000, 10,000. Now it's 1 to 36. And that's quite generous number, because I believe there are the dark numbers hidden in our society that are not diagnosed. Not everyone gets diagnosis, and that's the estimate. That's the sweet medium. So the Autism Community in Action, that's a great organization with a lot of resources. So if you are interested to learn more about autism, autism spectrum disorder, and different methodologies, how to help those individuals on the spectrum, or for the educators, what autism is, what are different therapies that are effective with those young children, go to TACA.now.org. It's the Autism Community in Action. Great resource. They have accurate information from CDC and American Medical Association. They also have a lot of great resources when it comes to biomedical approach, because not everybody wants to go with medical approach and medicating their children. They want to go more natural, holistic way. So this is a great, sweet hub of information. So according to this, they shared that the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, reports autism prevalence has significantly increased to 1 in 36 US children diagnosed with autism. The CDC introduced the Autism and Developmental Disabilities Monitoring Network 16 years ago. So in 16 years, they saw 317% increase. That's scary. And again, they say that Ms. Lisa Ackerman, the founder and executive director of TACA, she said, the CDC prevalence figure is showing a true increase in those being diagnosed with autism. We are not better diagnosing. There is no widening of the diagnostic criteria or any other excuses. We have more autism. There is no widening, oh yes, I said that. With the reality of this increase, I hope more people will care. As the number of cases continues to increase at an alarming rate, the result is more and more families and their children need services and support. So a prevalence of 1 in 36 cannot be disregarded, and I'm sure you can agree with me on that. And let me explain more about those numbers, because when I saw that, I was like, that means 1 in 36 children have autism. And I looked around at my community. My husband is a pastor. We have quite a good number of our church people. And I was like, let's see if the statistics are right, just generalize. And yes, we do have at least 4 or 5 individuals on the spectrum. Maybe not as severe as my son, but again, spectrum is a big, big umbrella that covers all kinds of symptoms. And let me tell you something from my own experience. Individuals on the spectrum are fantastic. They are so loyal. They usually don't understand why people lie. Why do you have to lie? They are the most honest, until, of course, they are tinted by society. But usually they are the purest hearted people you can meet. And you can learn a lot from individuals on the spectrum. let me get back to those statistics. Did you know that the lifetime social cost of autism is rather high? Can anyone guess the number? One second. Social cost associated with autism for 1990 to 2019, which is 39 years span. What's the estimate cost for those 39 years of autism? Not for the family, but for society in general. What's the cost? Can anyone guess? Throw me numbers.
I want to say somewhere around the millions range.
Okay, somewhere around millions. Anyone else?
At least about 2 million.
At least 2 million? Billions. Do I get a trillion? Do I get $7 trillion? $7 trillion. Yes, that was my reaction. $7 trillion in 39 years. $7 trillion just autism prevalence associated with autism. If the rates of increase in prevalence continues, cost to society, listen to that, could reach nearly $15 trillion by 2029. That's scary. Why, right? Why the cost is so high? Okay, let's get back to why autistic individuals have trouble in society. Is it easy for autistic individual to find a job? No. Is it easy to have communication with their peers? No. Usually those individuals end up staying with their parents or in institution because they are simply not able of living on their own independent life. That can be depressing, but at the same time, when they get a lot of support, and there are those housing communities for adults on the spectrum that are simply wonderful. They have nurses, they have therapists coming over and teaching basic daily living skills to those individuals. And they develop a lot. They are living in a group, so they learn to be in a social group, in the social outing. They go out doing shopping with a therapist or a shadow person. Yes, it's fascinating, it's amazing, and it's really beneficial to those individuals. However, there is a cost involved. And since they are not able to work, they are not paying taxes, they are not, so someone needs to pay this cost, and that's us. So what can we do? Because it's really scary, the numbers are going up, autism is not going away, it seems like there's more and more people on the spectrum, not severe autism, but Asperger's, sensory issues and stuff like that. That's it seems like, oh, that's not so serious, but ask someone who has those issues like you have with textures. It's not something like, oh, you know, it can be really bothering, right? Or do you have problems with light, like fluorescent lighting? Right. So let me tell you, I have a friend, he is a professor at Adelphi University in oh my goodness, is it DC? Professor Stephen Shore. He has autism. I interviewed quite a few individuals on the spectrum who are professors, who are great, wonderful individuals and self-advocates and advocates for autism case. So he told me when we met in Cyprus, because I lived with my family in Cyprus until 2016, my husband from a missionary family, so that's where we met. I am Polish, that's why the funny accent. I'm not from the south. I don't speak in banjo, so don't worry. Yes, every time I try to speak in southern accent, my husband's like, they think you're mocking them. I'm like, oh man, I'm trying. Taters, maters, come on. They're like, no, stop. So I'll stop. That's why the accent. But we met in Cyprus, and Cyprus is a wonderful island. 300 days of summer. Our son was thriving there. He loved Mediterranean Sea and swimming almost every day. But we hit the brick wall when we're trying to get some help for Michael. By the way, Cyprus doesn't allow, it's illegal to homeschool. Yeah. So, and you are not allowed to be a shadow person for someone with running away tendencies, eloping tendencies. So you have to hire someone to be a shadow person for your child to go to school. since we were already bilingual family, Polish and English. And Cyprus, they speak predominantly Greek language. And second language is English, so we're like, okay, we're gonna send him to private school. He was going to private English school, and he required a shadow person. Otherwise, he would be just eating Play-Doh, different things, which is, by the way, called TACA. That's a condition associated with autism. Plastic, paper, anything, which sometimes can be dangerous to our health. That's why when I read you the statistics, it will make more sense. So my son had pica. He needed assistant to basically watch that he doesn't get his hands into a poison, which he did. Let me tell you this, because it was like, as a mom, I trusted his shadow person. She was wonderful, but you cannot watch him 24/7 like really like a mama hen, you know. So they were standing outside of the classroom, outside of the chemistry lab, and she was talking to another shadow person of another child with autism. It was a neurotypical school, but inclusive. So they are standing there and chatting, and my Michael holding one hand, holding his assistant, shadow person, and the other hand, by the door there were jars with different poisons and chemicals. And he just grabbed this one jar and just woofed it down, as I call it, woofed it. Before she knew it, Michael was pale, and she was like, oh my goodness, did you just do, oh, what do I do? So she called me. I was at work, my new job. I was trying to perform my best, and not to show that I am stressful, overstressed mama bear who hardly gets any sleep at night, because if my son doesn't sleep, I don't sleep, and so on. So it's a vicious cycle. And I was trying to perform, and here I get a call. Hey, we're taking Michael to ER. I'm sorry, he swallowed some poison. And what poison? It was a chemical fertilizer. So I quickly, Dr. Google, what to do, and quickly take him to hospital right now. So I rushed to hospital. My boss didn't like that. Like, oh, you know, you just started a job, you'll be going like this all the time. I was like, I'm sorry, my son has autism and things happen. But honestly, that's how most of parents of children on the spectrum are. They are on high alert. Doing a full-time job is really exhausting. But I'm going to get to that part from my side as a mama bear later on. So I rushed to hospital. They pumped his stomach. And things like that are common with children on the spectrum. You think only little crawling toddlers that eat, you know, pick up stuff from the floor. No, those are grown children who just have this urge. Sometimes it's just chemical imbalances in the body, so you can supplement with different supplements. Sometimes it's just compulsion to have something in their mouth, or the texture that is, you know, pleasant to their touch, so they do that. But sometimes it's just an urge, and they just feel that because they're anxious or whatever. It can be dangerous. So as future educators, I just want you to remember to watch when you have an art class or something like that, paint, Play-Doh, clay, whew, just be careful, please, and watch those children. There are ways, of course, to redirect their attention and get their focus off from those things, but again, each person is different, each child is different. So when we got him from hospital, I had to go back to work and explain and everything, so there was a cost involved. I had to work. I couldn't just be a stay-at-home mom and just be with my baby and homeschool my baby like a lot of moms can do in America. Wonderful land of freedom and privileges. Yes, but I had to work to pay the shadow person, so that's huge strain. Then our son would have ADHD on top of autism. Whew. Anyone here has ADHD? No? You're students. You're supposed to be like, oh yeah. Okay, that's great.
I'm more of autism spectrum.
Yes.
ADHD. My mom doesn't tell me anything about my condition.
Right.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that have ADHD and even are on the spectrum that just don't know it.
Right, yes. Yes. I mean, there are, like we said already, there are different symptoms that can point you to, thinking that you may be on the spectrum. And of course, the most obvious ones are when you stop talking, or when you have compulsions and social interaction problems, or you have physical pain when you keep eye contact, or when someone touches you. All those sensory overloads, they can be a good indicator that you may be on the spectrum. But there are great tests as well that you can do online free and check where you are on the scale. Usually we think that we may have some autistic characteristics, but it doesn't mean that you are on the spectrum. Okay? The same with children. Psychologists do a lot of tests for special education programs and individual education program, IEPs, educational, educators at schools working with K-12. You will see a lot of those because there are a lot more classrooms that are integrative classrooms, usually someone sitting in the corner, sometimes with a shadow person, sometimes with a therapist coming in and out, or during music class or arts class, something just to get them involved in the class and to be around other children. So I just want you to be aware of that. Let me get back to those statistics. Now that you know a little bit more about those costs and health issues, did you know that 40% of children on the spectrum are non-speaking? Non-speaking doesn't mean they are completely non-verbal, because like my son communicates through his communication device, and you will see those as well working with children on the spectrum. They are like tablets, iPads, but they have like picture exchange system, so they can go and say, I want whatever, cake, or I feel hungry, or I am sad. And they can communicate through pictures, and they create sentences to show you, and computer reads it out loud. So the more advanced they are using those tools, the more they can communicate, and then the level of frustration drops drastically, both for the teacher or parent and for the student, because for the student the most important thing is that they can tell you what's going on. Like for many years, my son would just have high-pitched tones and grabbing my hand and guess. And then I'm like, do you want apple? Okay. Do you want this? Okay, I don't know. And then he just loses it because I don't read his mind. And you can imagine, like when you go to another country and you don't know the language and you're trying to communicate what you want. So imagine this is like 100 times more intense. So when you teach them how to use those communication devices, it makes everyone's life a lot easier. And there are courses, especially for teachers. They are free. They are usually free. They are sponsored by the government or local educational governing areas. And in Morganton, my son was going to North Liberty School. It's a wonderful school. And they are providing those devices. And they are actually teaching both teachers and parents how to use those devices, and then they incorporate those devices during classes and school. It's amazing. It's amazing. It really makes life a lot easier. Then this one really shook me up. 38% have seizures. And seizures are very common with children on the spectrum because autism is neurological developmental issue. I don't call it a disease because it's not a disease. It's something, that is just neurological issue. We are wired differently, and the brains are wired differently. That's why autistic individuals think different. Some people think in colors. Some people think in music. They can see, they can sing. Actually, my son can communicate through music. He sings a melody of the language. Like when I say, Michael, repeat, do you want to go with me? La 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 la. So he just da 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 da, and then I know what he means. So they are very, music is a tool. You can use music therapy. Music can be a great tool for individuals on the spectrum. I remember now. I was telling you about Professor Stephen Shore from Adelphi University because I just saw the light. That's triggered me. He told me when we met in Cyprus that, you know, the light, fluorescent light, actually is very loud. I'm like, the light is loud? Yes, it buzzes. So I'm trying to focus on what you're talking to me, you know, about what you're telling me. I'm trying to focus on your words, and I don't like looking straight at your face. It bothers me. So I'm looking around and I'm trying to focus on you, but at the same time the lights are so loud. You hear the lights, you see, you can relate. And he told me that fluorescent lights can be a great distractor. So he was like, if you can educate teachers at your son's school or change bulbs in your own house, just get rid of the lights. Or if you cannot get rid, dim the lights and just put the warm natural light, a lamp, and you will see the difference, how quickly it's so soothing to them. Can you relate?
It's so bad.
Yes, right. Yes. So that's why when you Google him, Stephen Shore, and he always wears his baseball caps wherever he goes. Even if he goes to like prominent conferences and talks about autism, he always wears his little dress shirt with his little vest with little things. Very nice, very elegant, and his baseball cap. And that's because he's blocking off the light. And he told me, like, when we went to the restaurant and it was the spotlighting, you know, in the restaurant, in the ceilings, and it was very dimmed. I felt tired just from the dim light, you know, it's very tiring. But it didn't bother me as bad. And he was like, okay, I see that you're already like, try to put this. I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, wow, what a difference. Go ahead, try this. Try this now. Right? Helps a little bit. But you can imagine, like, so if you eliminate the light, if you eliminate loud noises, music, he told me he can hear the clock ticking above the door. I'm like, oh wow, I didn't even realize. So basically those kids at school in the classroom, they have to focus on the teacher, right, on the lesson. The lesson can be abstract and going through the roof. You know, they cannot focus on the class because they are focusing on the beginning of the problem and they already struggle understanding because it's going too fast. Then they hear someone or they hear the teacher. Clock, 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 clock. There's a clock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. The lights are bzzz, and they're just, oh my goodness. And it's building up, building up. They can hyperventilate, they can have a meltdown. And it's not tantrum. It's not like, oh, you know, I want to get out. It's honestly just the sensory overload is so high that they need to leave the classroom or just do something to distract their mind and focus back on the schoolwork because it's just so overwhelming. So let me get back to statistics because I want to do an exercise with you guys before I go. So 40% kids on the spectrum have anxiety. You can imagine that. Being in a classroom, not being able to communicate, going out, and it's like it feels like everybody's looking at you. I mean, social anxiety is very common, not only with children on the spectrum, but also with, you know, even us. Like, I feel uncomfortable, like I came here, I saw, okay, at least a nice group of people, whew, okay, I can do it. But it's hard, you know, when you're doing public speaking or when you go and meet someone for the first time, it can be hard. It can be a little bit anxious and overwhelming, and for those children, it's extra burden because they don't know, they see the crowd, the world starts spinning, you hear all those noises, you can smell all the smells and everything, it just exaggerated, and it can really cause sensory overload. So keep that in mind when you see a child during the class, if you are teaching them in the future, if they seem like, or they stimming. What is stimming? Can anyone tell me what stimming is?
Rocking back and forth.
That could be one way. Yes. Rocking, tapping, playing with the pencil, drumming. My son is a drummer. He drums everywhere. That's his way of calming himself down. And basically, stimming is self-regulative method to bring back, like ground yourself and get back, you know, center and refocus. So that's what my son does a lot. He's drumming a lot. Like we go to church, he drums People are used to it now anyway. My husband is a pastor, so they have no way, right? Let me tell you a story, because he was doing so great. He was sitting next to me. He was just very obedient, he was a runner as a kid. So now we give him more freedom and like teaching him like, okay, you know, you can sit here. I'm not gonna hold you, but I trust you, okay? If you run, that's it. I'm gonna hold you again. Okay, so he would be sitting and waiting. But one day, we have a service. My husband is there on the podium and speaking. A lot of people in the audience, of course, congregation. And my son just runs up in the choir section. I don't know if you're familiar how churches are. Like in the front is the choir section singing towards the congregation, and behind the pastor. So he just ran up, and everybody's like, but I didn't freeze. Normally I freeze. In circumstances like that, I would just have a panic attack. You know, like sometimes in a dream you're trying to scream and you can't, so it's like, and that's how I felt every time he would run away from me. He ran away from me once from the house, which again, most of the most severe cases of autism have padlocks on their doors or locks everywhere, windows, doors, and so on, because you have to keep your child safe. It's a soft cell prison. And you will see that in the classrooms as well. Sometimes there is an assistant sitting right by the door because you have to keep those children safe and enclosed. So yes, my son ran away, and he ran to the choir section, but then he saw that nobody is chasing him, so he just came down like disappointed and sat next to me. So he understands the consequences, and he's cheeky. He's now 16 years old, and he's trying the boundaries, how far he can go. And I want to tell you what helped in our case, because we tried a lot of different approaches, and you as future educators, you're going to probably learn about different therapies like ABA therapy, applied behavioral analysis. That was used a lot in Cyprus, and it's quite outdated approach, ABA. Basically, you're trying to change the child, adapt to the social surroundings and the life. You're rewarding for good behaviors and for doing the task that you tell them to do, and basically withdraw an award when they don't do it. So it's kind of like training a doggy. That's why many people don't like that, because it's like, you know, a little bit degrading, but it worked. In our case, it really worked. And even now, Michael knows, you know, when he really wants something, he loves his drinks, cane cola. Yes, it's not Coca-Cola, it's a cane cola, it's the healthier version. It's in a glass bottle. If you give him in a plastic bottle, he's like, what am I, a peasant? He doesn't say that, but basically he acts this way, like, no, off. So yes, he treats us like his servants. Even when he goes to therapy, he's working for his cane cola. And funny enough, he's using his device, but because of my accent, I tend to have a little mixture of European accent, you can say. My English is Polish English. So I don't say water, I say water with T, hard T. Or better, you know, it's better for you. So he learned my language. And when he goes to therapy and the therapist is offering him water, she's like, you want some water? Water. And then I'm like, you mean water? Water, yes, water. So even his device needs to be changed to British English or Australian English. Great. He doesn't like American English, so peasant. So yes, that's one little funny tidbit for you. The kids are very precise and they like their details. So you may find it helpful as well when they are used to something, or if their parents have an accent, you may need to listen to the accent that they are familiar with. So just remember that. 53% have sleep issues. Hey, that's huge. In our family, we struggle with that, especially when Michael was on medication. That was side effects, had insomnia, anorexia, heartbeat, irregular heartbeat, and stuff like that. So that wasn't fun. We had to take turns with my husband. I was sleeping 3 hours, then my turn to sleep, and and we both had full-time jobs, so we had to be sort of conscious. And yes, sometimes I would be just dozing off at my desk. Yes, good times. But yes, sleep issues, 53%. So imagine those kids coming to school, more than half of them, kids on the spectrum, and they suffer with insomnia or they don't sleep well at all, and then they come and teacher is trying to, hey, wake up, focus, but it can be really hard. And remember all those sensory overloads plus lack of sleep. It's hard. It's really hard. That's why they need a little bit extra compassion, a little bit extra time, and they really need a mentor. And I was gonna get to that later, because when Michael found a mentor in his therapist who was really putting all their efforts and time and attention, when Michael wanted something, they would really just be there for him. And not mocking, not getting annoyed, not getting like, oh, just do it. Sometimes, regular teachers can do that, but if you find someone on the spectrum, if you find a child in your classroom, just spend this little bit of extra time with them and just have a little bit more compassion than you would normally have, remembering all those things that they have to deal with on a daily basis, and you will see the difference. They're gonna just bloom like a flower. 4 times more likely to suffer from GI issues. Whew, I can tell you that's very accurate. 4 times more. And for us, it was when he was about 2.5 years old, when his GI tract completely just stopped working properly, and the food he would be putting in his mouth would be coming out undigested. And a lot of GI issues, gastrointestinal issues. So that's very common. Then there is 4 times higher odds of unmet healthcare needs. Again, I mentioned TACA, I mentioned sleep disorders, so that means anxiety, lack of concentration, problems at school, low grades, and stuff like that. So that all comes together. Then 49% to engage in elopement behaviors. That means running away, escaping, and they are sadly drawn to water. I don't know about you guys. Do you like water? Swimming pools, lakes, rivers, right? There is something in the water, and every time I talk to someone on the spectrum, they say, yes, water, it's like calming, it's like zen. I can be, in my own world and nobody bugs me. It's wonderful. So of course we were worried that Michael will drown, and sadly you see those news quite often when you find a child drowning, or another child on the spectrum found in the pond or in the neighbor's swimming pool, because they are just trying to escape their house, not because they don't love their parents or whatever, they just are drawn to water so much. I don't know what it is, so we decided to just teach our son to swim. And he's a great swimmer, he goes to swim every day, so even if, touch wood, he runs away, he will not drown, Lord willing. So yes, there is something about that. So keep that in mind, especially like field trip to the swimming pool. God bless you. Yeah, good luck. This one really, I cried when I saw this. Age 72 is the average life expectancy of an individual without autism, and age 36, half, is the average life expectancy of an individual with autism. Again, we have those medical issues. We have more probability of depression and anxiety, because they feel misunderstood, they feel also isolated in the society. That's why you, as future educators, you guys are God sent, okay? You can be the ones that reach those kids and tell them, I'm here for you. Hey, if the whole world is against you, at least you have me. Come to me with whatever you need to tell me. You have an ally. Just be an ally to those kids and you will see the difference it makes in their life. 14% of adults with autism have paid jobs in community-based settings. So 14%. What about the other 86%? Unemployed. Unemployed. They don't work, they cannot work, they are not able to work. So 86%, now you understand the $7 trillion, and by 2029 it's going to be, they estimate, $15 trillion cost, because they are not able to work. So that's why early intervention, and you guys, you can teach daily skills, like even during recess, you can show them how to fold clothes or sort things, or just help them, get into a more independent lifestyle. You can be a true help and turn the current. So really, it's all on you guys. No, I'm kidding. But yes, you can be used greatly to help those individuals. Then 49% of adults live with parent or relative, and that's why I have to live till at least 110 years old, because I'm not letting go of my son, and he's 16, and I'm, so yeah, I need to live a long time. 27% of adults live in a group home, while only 10% of adults live independently. So only 10% live independently. Those that have their spouses, they get married or they have a life partner, they usually do better because they are usually helped by their spouse or a partner, motivated daily, and just having, like I said, an ally, a best friend to go through life together. So that's why they do much better than the ones that are on their own or in institution. Then 8% of adults live in an institution, which is still a big number, but again, it's not like in the old days, like in the 70s, that they would be locked up and electrocuted and done experiments on. Now it's completely different. It's like a little town or a village, the whole community area that they share, and they have a lot of help as well, therapy, emotional support and social support. So it's not so bad. So again, those are the sobering statistics, but I wanted to share them with you because I want to shine the light on autism. There are, of course, other conditions that deserve recognition, but autism, April is Autism Awareness Month, and I do this also for my son. I want to tell people what autism is and that it's not going away. It's not because it's better diagnosed, because the diagnosis changed 20 years ago, so they added Asperger's syndrome under the umbrella of autism, but it's not because of changing the diagnostic tools. We see more and more children being diagnosed with autism. So that's why.
Is there information as to why that is the case? Why is there such an increase?
There are many different sources of information, of course. Biomedical approach says it's because of the environmental pollution. So, of course, even I'm also a naturopath, doctor of natural medicine. Because of my son, I had to go this route to find help for him because medicine didn't work for him. But it doesn't mean it cannot work for you, by the way. So if you are on medication, and it works for you, kudos to you, because it can help some. I chose the other path because it failed my son. And so, of course, there are factors like, yes, vaccines. They can trigger some behaviors and changes. There are environmental pollution like water, drinking water, what we breathe, like the plug-in air fresheners. They are horrible for our lungs and our neurological system. So if you have those, I would just ditch them because they can really trigger a lot of issues. Food we eat, it has a lot to do with it. My son improved drastically after we changed the diet. So I would start with the easy way. Well, it's not easy, it's a lot harder than medicating, but it's a lot milder form of trying to help those individuals by curing their GI tract. And when we changed the diet, eating mostly organic and balanced, plant-based with some protein. Well, now it's mostly protein. He's a little turkey. But I cannot control him now. He's 16 years old, so he knows it all. And yes, so I would go with biomedical approach first, like Dr. Temple Grandin. Are you familiar with Temple Grandin? No? Oh, you have to watch the movie. Temple Grandin. Yes, she's a wonderful advocate. She's on the Asperger's syndrome. She didn't speak till I think she was 5 years old, and she has a lot of sensory issues. And she designed this humane butchery system, I don't know, that they kill the cows, and the cows, when they go to slaughter, they don't feel so overwhelmed, and they don't have all this adrenaline in their body after they're killed. They think they're going for a swim in the nice swimming pool. She designed it because she observed those cows for a long time. She would be going to her aunt's farm, and she would be observing behaviors of the cows, and it would be soothing. She would be hugging the cows. She would be spending a lot of time with cows. By the way, children on the spectrum do great with animals. Usually therapy dogs, horses. The equine therapy is amazing. My son loves it. He can have a meltdown and then sits on the horse, hugs the horse, and just, it's like Zen. So yes, animals play a big role in healing and just balancing those emotions with children on the spectrum. So yes, she designed this amazing method of killing cows in a humane way. And she also designed a machine that squeezes her, because she didn't like hugs, but she liked the sensation of a hug. But she didn't want anyone to touch her. So it was like, what do I do? So she designed this machine that squeezes like a hug, and then she just feels like, release, just all the tension, everything just goes away. So again, brilliant minds. I recommend watching the movie. I think it's with, oh my goodness, the actress from Romeo and Juliet, Claire Danes, or something like that. Yes. And it's about Temple Grandin and her life and how she became this famous doctor. I mean, doctor of science. And she speaks regularly, and she tells you a lot about the sensory issues. So, yes, about stimming. That's the thing. I see you rocking, that's soothing, self-regulating. You mentioned also tapping and different things. Rocking is very common. Flapping hands, jumping. Sometimes it could be audible. It could be making noises like Tourette's, but it's not Tourette's. It's just stimming. And all the adults I spoke to, Stephen Shore, other adults on the spectrum that are also advocates, they all told me, do not stop the stimming, unless it's self-harm, like when they bang their head on the wall or stuff like that, then you have to redirect and make it more safe. But when they are just stimming, let them, because this is their way to self-regulate, and they'll be back. Another great approach is Sunrise program. Sunrise was created by the Kaufmans, and Kaufmans, I think it was in the 70s, they had a nonverbal son who was completely locked in his own world. He was non-responsive to outside stimuli, nothing. He would not respond to his name, just completely in his own world. And then they observed him. Of course, the psychiatrists back then institutionalized. There's nothing you can do. It's autism, nothing you can do. And they're like, no. They were little tree huggers family, kind of like me, a witch doctor, treating with a root. But yes, so they're like, no, we're not gonna institutionalize our child. We love our son, and we will get into his world. Since he cannot come out to our world, we're gonna get to his world. And they were observing him at the kitchen table. Again, I think there was a documentary about them or a movie made, but you can Google it. Ron Kaufman program is called Sunrise, S-O-N Rise. And so they were just observing him, and he would be just spinning the plate. So they said, okay, what are you doing? But he would not respond. So they started spinning the plate without talking, without making eye contact, nothing. They would not force him to look at them. They would just repeating what he's doing. Playing on the floor, he would be tapping, they would be tapping. And then he was like, oh, they're doing what I'm doing. So he would be lifting his eyes and just checking, who is here? Oh, okay, oh, I like her. Oh, I like him, okay. So then they got into his world, and then he started coming out to their world. And that was their way to reach him out and show him the way and teach him how to talk and everything. And now he's a world-renowned speaker advocate, Ron Kaufman. He's speaking everywhere. In Europe, in America, in Africa. He's a great guy. So there are many different methods. Like I said, often parents are the ones that come out with initiatives because medical world can do so much and then nothing. The same when it comes to education. That's why we have people like you guys who are open and willing to listen to people like me with an accent. But hopefully you will get something from this lecture and you will apply it when you have a child on the spectrum in your classroom, and you'll be able to help them and just reach out and make their life a little bit easier. So I wanted to do this experiment to show you how autism may feel like, and I need 3 volunteers. I want to demonstrate you how it feels to have all kinds of sensory stimuli coming at you while you're trying to focus. So I need a person who wants to be person on the spectrum. Okay, you will be. So this is functions of the keypads on the phone. I want you to read the instruction manual for me and tell me how to exit delay, entry delay, and
So
then
just read
exit
read
alarms.
these pages?
Yes,
Okay.
read, but
Loud?
no, quietly.
Oh.
Read quietly. Before you start, I want distractions, stimuli, okay, sensory load. You will be the audible disturbance. You have to come and make noises and la 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 la, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. You will be the tactile distraction. You have to come and tap. What's your name?
Callie.
Callie. You have to tap Callie all the time. Tap, tap, tap. Are you okay with doing that? Yes. You'll be the tactile distraction. You will be the visual distraction. So you have to come in her face and just get her attention. Get her attention, okay? All the time. Okay, ready, set, and you have to tell me after you read this how to set exit delay, entry delay, and then the exit alarms on this phone, because I want you to tell me how to set up this phone correctly. All right, let's go. Tactile, 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 tactile. Yes. Hey. Hey, no, focus, focus. Listen, come. Distraction, distraction. This way, in her face. Hey, 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 I'm sorry. Hey, hey, I need you here, I need you here. Hey, yes, yeah. No, go ahead. Read. You have to focus, come on. You want to fail the class? Come on. Focus, really. Focus, you have to focus. Hey, if you have any problems with understanding, yes. And then there are also perfumes, sweat, air refresheners. Just imagine, I don't want to do that because it would be too much. Air refresheners, there is a light buzzing, light, fluorescent light, fluorescent light. There are steps. All right, thank you guys. Good job. All right.
Yeah.
So how did it feel?
It was overwhelming.
Right?
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
Look at my life at home and here
Yes.
and
Right?
everywhere in general.
Well, was it accurate, guys?
Yeah.
If you can relate to that.
It was affecting me even. I literally had to cover my ears.
Yes. Yes. So you can see, and that's why you see those children in integrative classrooms. They are usually, like you said, you had to cover your ears. They have the noise reduction headphones, usually. My son cannot stand them because of the sensory, touching. Nothing touches my ears, so great. What do I do?
Could be worse. Could be earrings with headphones. I'm telling you, those are not a good combo.
See?
But I can't stand the earbuds because they end up like hurting.
There you go. So if you see those kids in your classroom, please have extra portion of compassion, because it's not easy. It seems like this is in English. Imagine if it was like in German or a language you don't speak or read. And then the teacher is like, hey, so what did you learn? And then you feel like, I'm dumb, I shouldn't be here. And, I think it was Einstein who said that don't try to teach the fish to climb because it will feel like dummy, because I cannot climb trees. But actually, you have to always pay attention to child's abilities and what they are able to do and what they are good at, and just embrace those characteristics and skills and build on those, and just re-emphasize where they are good at, because very often those are geniuses. Like really in certain areas they have special skills. I don't know what your special skills are, guys. Drawing, math, language, music.
I have a lot
Drawing.
of information.
A lot of, yeah, walking encyclopedia right there.
Let's just say, I have a friend who's the guy version of me, and trust me, even he doesn't want to know what goes on inside this head. Let's just leave it at that.
That's good. So you have a lot of information as well. Stored up right there. I think it's a comedian. That's your skill. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm really worried. Okay, now I really am worried about what they put in the water here and at my workplace.
Oh no, no.
No,
Okay,
I'm serious.
I
My
can
own
tell
parents
you
don't find me
after
funny.
we're done. I can tell you about great filters, water filters that are really good, you know, and you will get this burden off your head. Yes, don't worry about water. You can do this.
I'm serious though, because like my own parents and sister don't find me funny. My dad literally cuts off my jokes before I even say them.
Nah, I say you're funny. Agree? Agree, yes. Well, thank you guys so much. I just wanted to illustrate how hard it can be for someone on the spectrum or even with sensory overload. It doesn't have to be someone with autism, it could be anyone with sensory issues. So like tactile, you have problems with textures or the price tags, or what do you call it, the name tags? Yes. So my son had to wear his clothes inside out for a long time because of the seams and the tags on his back. He couldn't stand that. It was like, ugh. Even my daughter, even though she's supposedly neurotypical, but she's his great ally. And like, let me tell you, as a mama bear, when we were talking about Michael's future and when we were discussing, like, you know, you will get married one day, we'll be empty nesters when it comes to you, but we'll always have Michael with us. And she was like, well, Mama, let me give you peace of mind, because if I marry someone, first of all, he needs to love the Lord. Well, okay, pastor's daughter, you know. He needs to love Michael as much as I love Michael, because we are a package deal. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. So yes, if you have siblings of someone's on the spectrum, man, they can be a gold mine. They are great allies. Of course, it's not easy, you know, like we have to find support for our daughter, and she needs as much attention as our son, but of course we are not able to give her as much attention as we give to our son. But they need support, because like she cannot invite just any friends from school, you know, after school to hang out, because she always has to explain like, hey, my son has autism, and that's why those odd behaviors or the loud noises and stuff. So she always chooses her friends very carefully. So that always affects also the family members and your friends and parents. So keep that in mind. It's, again, autism can be fun. Like you saw, the guys really embraced it and did a great job. And that's the thing. They are wonderful people if you try to reach them and see what they have to offer. So learn from individuals on the spectrum about autism. That's number one advice, not from the professionals. They can give you the technical, you know, the theory and everything, but like one-on-one experience, nothing better. So that's it. Any questions to me?
Are you familiar with the Olmstead Act?
Olmstead?
Olmstead Act?
Uh-uh.
So I work at J. Iverson Riddle, and I actually work in the Equine Therapy Assisted Program.
Yes.
Or Equine Assisted Therapy Program. And so my supervisor and I do this thing called disability awareness, where we go through the schools, and we have a little miniature horse who has Cushing's disease, and you can't see that she has the disease.
Right, yes.
But the other horses bully her.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do like a little
Demonstration.
program.
Yeah.
And show the kids. And we have
Wow.
little demonstrations where the kids can see, just like you did with us, what
Yes.
it's like to have autism or other disabilities. And so, because some of them don't understand.
Yes,
So,
yes,
that made me think of that.
Yes, and kids in a regular, neurotypical classroom, they learn the best by experience. So you can do this experience when you have someone on the spectrum in the classroom. Also, what the school that my son attended in Cyprus, they basically ask Michael to bring his favorite toys, his favorite food, and basically show to other children like, hey, so Michael likes airplanes and trains. I do too. Or, wow, Michael loves grapes and bananas and apples. I do too. You see, we're more alike than different, when you think about it. So focusing on the things in common rather than highlighting, oh, this is different, That's why I love that you have this class that you can learn about diversity in neurological world, because it really is very common nowadays. And you can be their allies. You can be the ones that they feel comfortable talking to and just even being next to. You don't have to talk, but having someone, not walking through the hallways alone, but having someone not to feel like, oh, I'm scared to go out because the hallway and the noises and the crowds, if you have someone that you can just hold on to, that can be a huge life changer. I think it was autism.org. I'm not sure if they still do, but it was like a scale from 1 to 100. And depending on where you are, the higher the number, the more on the spectrum you score. Yeah. Anyone else? Questions? Comments? No? Are you prepared to have special needs students in your classroom? Do you feel a little bit less anxious about having a child on the spectrum in your classroom? Well, I'm glad that my job is done.
When I was doing student teaching, I had a little boy who was autistic. And it was interesting to watch him and the way he thought of things and the things that he did and how he expressed himself. It was something that was very...
And what was the way that he was expressing himself?
Well, he liked to throw things.
Oh, yes, yes. We had that.
If there was anything around that he could throw, he would throw it as far as he could go. He even went out to the schoolyard for the recess, and he threw rocks up on the roof.
Ooh, yes.
The teacher had to talk to him a little bit about that.
We went through 5 flat screen TVs within 3 months. It was a few years back when he would be playing his Nintendo games and he would get so upset he would just throw whatever he had in his hand at the TV because he would be so upset. And then eventually we'll learn after the 4th TV that we need to buy those screen protectors. So we got this like plexiglass protectors you can order online. And ever since then he's like, oh, it's boring, I throw, nothing breaks. So yes, there is a way. Yep. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you for your comments, thank you for your participations, and thank you for your feedback, especially for someone dealing with autism spectrum disorder yourselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming. Should we get a picture, I guess, since I have it all the other speakers? So,
Yay!
yeah.